Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Wrestling Inc. Daily. It's me, your managing editor of WrestlingInc.com, Nick Hausman, joined here as I am every Wednesday to have a happy hump day to talk the pro wrestling news the past 24 hours. It's our good friend, Brian Wohl. Brian, welcome back to the Wrestling Inc. Daily.
Oh man, I'm so glad to be here. I had a great time last week at the Magic Castle. Had a great time watching Full Gear on Saturday. I'm just riding the positivity right now.
Yeah, dude, and it is National Cowboy Shit Day, Brian. That is why I am wearing my Pearl Snap shirt here today. Don't own a cowboy hat, but I wanted to pay homage. Such a great thing. I really want this to stick around. I think every, November 17th, every November 17th should be National Cowboy Shit Day. I want to keep this one around.
Oh man, that would be so great. I need to get like a big belt buckle. That's like probably the coolest cowboy thing that I like.
Dude, I had this like badass. It wasn't like the Brahma bull, but it was a bull with like evil red eyes. That was a cool belt buckle. I rocked that one for a while. Different, you go through different fashion phases in your life.
Oh
So
yeah, but you also grew up in Texas, so you have even more of I'm from Illinois. It's not really a thing there.
that's true. Well, anyway. I was wearing that. I didn't actually wear his belt buckles in Texas. I wore them in Illinois, or Chicago. But I think it's like the Texan in me. I was like trying to identify with my roots. So whatever.
Yeah.
We got a great show here today. Comment section is open. We have oh no, it's BWO. The BWO says Gary Lyles. It's rhyme time, right? So the chat room is up here. Samantha, happy hump day all. You guys jump on in, leave us your thoughts. We'll try to pull them on to the screen here as the show goes along here today. And of course, they'll get incorporated into the podcast release. So we have many great audio listeners as well. They'll hear your questions and your comments as we go along. Later on, for the audio portion, for the audio people out there, podcast people, you're going to get to hear the full audio from Bryan Danielson's AEW Full Gear Media Scrum later in the show. Great scrum. I asked him about Eddie Kingston since his name got invoked in the Kingston Punk promo battle a couple weeks ago, or 2 weeks ago, I guess, at this point. So it's great. Bryan Danielson in the house here today, Brian.
That is so exciting. I'm a big fan. He had a great match with Miro, and man, I have no idea what's going to happen with him and Adam Page.
Yeah, right. 2 Bryans in the house here today. Bryan Danielson, Brian Wohl. And at the
Bearded
end of the
Bryans too.
a couple bearded Bryans. I smell a men's beard product infomercial in the future with you two. So something nice balm. So at the end of the show for everybody, we'll dive into the mailbag and we're going to talk about Tommaso Ciampa, a little hypothetical about him if he were to go to the main roster. But without further ado here, news you can use, news that'll leave a bruise. We're going to start off here with the latest on Kenny Omega. Yesterday, of course, we were talking about how he was working through some injuries at AEW Full Gear. We found out he was dealing with vertigo, or has been dealing with vertigo, and wrestling and doing all these crazy 5-star matches while thinking the whole room is spinning. So the PWInsider.com now saying it does look like Omega may be out of action for an extended period of time. It's likely he's going to need shoulder surgery, and the hope is that officials are going to have some clarity on Omega's status and future sometime this week. Any thoughts here, Brian?
And Kenny Omega has been on such an amazing run, and I hope he heals up very soon. Man, so many great matches these last few years. And I can't wait to see what we get from Kenny when he's fully healthy again.
Yeah, no, I think the time away will make the heart grow fonder with Kenny right now. Like, we've seen a lot of Kenny right now, and I'm not saying like I think we're all burned out. I mean, there's obviously things you could do, but you think this guy has been wrestling for a long time. Kenny Omega is not a spring chicken at this point. How old is Kenny Omega? Do you know? How old is
I thought he was 36. I thought he was my age, like 36.
Kenny Omega is 38.
Oh,
yeah.
close.
So, he works such a physical style, right? And it's not just like the physical. It's like it's also the way he contorts himself and how he throws himself around. I mean, I hope the guy does take some time to really heal and get to a place where he feels comfortable, because, realistically, we're looking at maybe one more really good run. I say that as Jericho's like 50 now, right? And he's still going. But Jericho did, like, again, Kenny's style has just been so physical. Like, his body has to have taken a beating here and some real punishment over these past few years.
Yeah, but Kenny is such an amazing wrestler. I'm sure he could adjust as time goes on. We saw someone like Stone Cold adjust after his horrible neck injury, and in the NBA we see Derrick Rose now playing at a high level once again, but he's a completely different player. His game is completely different, and I feel like Kenny Omega is that MVP level of an athlete where I think he could make an adjustment to operate at a high level, no matter the style, for a very long time.
And Gary Lyle here in the chat room saying, I deal with vertigo and have to move, turn slowly. I can't imagine wrestling with it. And like, I keep trying to put myself in that space where it's like, oh man, like, it's like, I can't even fathom like what that experience has to be. Like, you're flying through the air, people are picking you up. You're like, wow. It seems very difficult to be able to do what he does,
Yeah. It shows that he's had years and years of physical discipline and practice. And even then, oh my gosh.
Yeah. Well, and Troy Corsi here saying, can the company sustain losing Jon Moxley and Kenny Omega? Honestly, if there was ever a time for these guys to go away, this is probably that time, right? Like, you're trying to figure out a way to work Bryan Danielson and CM Punk comfortably into that main event picture without having to make it feel like, they're forcing people down or, creating whatever. Like, it's actually, I think they're at a point right now where it's actually kind of nice, I think, for them to be able to have these guys in the wings that they're ready to try out in their main event picture and do it in earnest.
Yeah, and don't forget we have the injury to Lance Archer as well. There's AEW has been able to sustain so many hits to their roster because that was one of the criticisms early on was they were really thin. Now they're super deep, and now there's a lot less pressure for wrestlers to work hurt. So hopefully that can lead to safer and longer careers for each of those guys.
Yeah, and I see a couple people here in the comments room. They want to know about Jeff Hardy. We're going to get to Jeff here in just a second. I have one more AEW piece of news, and we'll talk about Jeff Hardy here. Fightful reported Dax Harwood was either knocked out or nearly knocked out around 10 minutes into the FTR versus Lucha Brothers AEW Full Gear match. Harwood was hit hard by a shot from Rey Fenix and was sidelined for a good portion of the rest of the match. Phoenix has been known to work stiff in the past, and some AEW talents took issue with how he did not check up on Harwood after Saturday's match. It was noted that there isn't major heat on Phoenix, but some talents feel like it's just common courtesy to check in when something like that happens to a coworker during a match. Harwood was originally scheduled to be involved with the finish of the match, playing up the illegal man getting pinned angle. Couple things here, right? Obviously, like, very unfortunate, this injury here with Dax. Hope he's okay. It is very scary when that stuff happens. And B, like the whole Phoenix stuff. Like, I don't know. How do you feel about this?
Man, I'm a Phoenix fan, so it's tough to hear bad things about a guy I like. But I don't remember. I don't recall where that stiff shot was.
Right.
Did you see? I remember he had the hot tag, and then there was some action after that. But it seemed like everything was on the up and up. So it seems like it was just an accident.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know, man. Accidents happen. I wish that he checked on him or at least gave him an Iggy or something just to be like, hey, man, you all right?
It doesn't sound like it, and that's the thing. I mean, I can understand, people being upset with that. I mean, you're out there, you're moving around, you're very focused. Other things are happening. Maybe you can't get over them. Whatever. It's a very the nuance of pro wrestling politics is, you never know exactly what you're gonna do to create some kind of domino reaction, right? So, it is good, especially like just to check on them to make sure that if they need to be out of position when you're doing things, that's also part of the common courtesy. So, I hope everybody's all right. Cooler heads prevail. Obviously, we like FTR and Lucha Brothers here. But I did notice at AEW Full Gear that finished that match. We were all looking at each other like that felt off. It felt like there was something that wasn't right about because the whole mask thing, and then he quickly kind of got pinned. It's like I felt like there was another 60 seconds of lead up that we didn't get there. So I did notice something was off live, at least watching that match.
Yeah, it did. When I watched it on television, it looked a little off. I wasn't quite sure what it was, but the match all leading up to that was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Jeff Hardy. All right, Walter. How about Jeff Hardy? Andy 22,488. How has Jeff Hardy signed a new contract? Well, BT Sport, they caught up with Jeff, and he revealed that he signed a 2-year deal with WWE. I believe last year, like September-ish of last year, if my sleuthing lines up. And he noted that the big selling factor was that he gets his old theme music back, which is pretty known. But wild, that's the thing in the writer that Jeff was looking for. But that puts him at if my math and looking into it is correct, puts him at about 10 months to go. I think it's interesting when you look back at the Jeff Hardy chasing the 24/7 title thing. That was probably right around when they realized we only have a year left of Jeff Hardy. So I don't know if maybe those two things kind of line up. But any thoughts from you about Jeff Hardy being in less than a year here with WWE, it would appear?
I'm kind of shocked that WWE isn't capitalizing more on Jeff's popularity. It's clear that whenever Jeff's entrance music comes on and he enters an arena, there is a big pop. Crowds
Right.
still love Jeff Hardy. And to subjugate him to something like the 24/7 title chase, or even just losing in the mid card, I don't know, it doesn't make sense to me. I feel like he should be giving meaningful feuds to put over young talent. Like, why aren't we seeing Jeff Hardy, Damian Priest feud, Jeff Hardy, Matt Riddle feud? There's some really great things that Jeff Hardy could be doing with young talent right now, and instead we have him doing this nonsense. And we got 10 months, and I hope they use him wisely.
Yeah. Well, we'll see, right? I mean, we don't really know how Jeff is feeling, right? The politics. Obviously, his brother is, working over at the other promotion right now. The Bucks and the Hardys have tons of history, right? You remember the quest for gold that Matt and Jeff went on just before they re-signed with WWE, and the classic ladder matches and stuff they had with the Hardys. So, or not the Hardys, the Young Bucks.
With the Bucks, yeah.
The other Hardys. So I think they know that there's that opportunity probably for Jeff elsewhere. Even with that said, though, I'm with you. I don't know why they don't capitalize more on Jeff Hardy. Like, for the exact reason you just said. And I always go back to, I forget who it was. It might have been Weissman, because we were talking about it on the Monday after or whatever. But there was that SmackDown where they went to that festival, and they did those that concert festival, and they did those matches in front of all the fans and stuff. And it was kind of a little odd. Like, Jeff Hardy was a guy you could have hit that music and brought him out at like a festival, and that place would have gone nuts, right? Like,
yes.
I remember they brought out like the Street Profits. I think they had Naomi out there. People were like, oh, okay, all right, wrestling. But like, Jeff Hardy's a guy you could take out to a halftime. You could take him out to college football. You could take a Jeff Hardy out. I don't know if I put him on late night, but maybe, he's kind of an odd talker. But he's a guy you can take out it and really show off that people connect to. And I'm with you, man. I think there's a lot of stuff that they don't do with Jeff that they could easily, just to pick up attention for themselves.
I mean, Jeff Hardy is the favorite wrestler of most folks between the late 20s, early 30s. Like, a lot of them will say my favorite wrestler was Jeff Hardy. And like, folks love Jeff Hardy. He's just cool.
Yeah, and Philly Fakem, by the way, saying you called Riddle and Priest young. That's very generous. Look, you know what? Young is perspective. It's how you feel. Okay, Philly. So with Jeff here, yeah, I mean, like, I guess an AEW leap would be like the big option for him. Of course, like, they know the value of Jeff. I don't know how much Jeff wants to wrestle. I know that he likes money and arcade games and blowing things up on his property. So if maybe there's security in staying with Jeff and WWE. I mean, they always had way more of an investment to Jeff than Matt. Jeff just got treated differently, and has gotten treated differently. So I think there's a chance of that too. But if you're really going to play around with Jeff, yeah, you talk about putting over some young guys. NXT needs something right now. They need something bad, right now. The we don't have it on the run sheet here because it came out after I'd sent you the run sheet. I was going to revive it or whatever, refresh it. But NXT did the lowest key demo rating it's ever done since the show debuted on USA. I think it was like 144,000 people in the 18 to 45. Average key demo average viewer age 62. Right? I mean, NXT desperately needs something right now. If it's not going to be some kind of clear vision, which I don't think that they've really shown us, maybe sending a Jeff Hardy or somebody down like that to play around there and have some fun and at least have one story and star you can kind of build around with. I don't know,
Something. It's a real mess, man.
Yeah.
Seeing Cameron Grimes get shaved last night. What was that about?
Kill your idols. Am I right, man? Like, it feels like, you watch Kyle O'Reilly, be some nerdy little biker guy to Von Wagner. Bicyclist. I don't want to say biker. That makes it sound too cool. Little bicycle guy, to Von Wagner. Ciampa here, he rolled through Braun Breaker, and you would think they were going to maybe make him the staple, maybe have him put over some more of these guys. They're going right back to Braun Breaker, and I think that there's no way they don't put the title on the guy this time. I almost think they feel like they've screwed up, right? Like, everybody wanted him to win that title. Maybe they should have just had him win the title,
Yeah.
Probably would have been good for it,
I think so. I mean, it was what we all knew was going to happen. Now it's just a delayed inevitability. And when it finally happens, everyone will just be like, okay, great. Now we're here.
Yeah. And Samantha here saying NXT PG-14. I think they need to bring the Attitude Era back. Yeah, I mean, like we talked about this yesterday a little bit. It's great if you can curse and stuff, but if you can't tell a story, then the cursing doesn't really matter. You know what I mean? Yeah. And Poli Del Mar, by the way, my co-host here for tomorrow on the Daily, they have. She says they have also lost someone well outside that range. Me, I became disengaged when they rebooted, and that Braun Breaker decision. The more I think about it, like, they didn't really execute on the reboot. The reboot would have been giving a new person that you don't know that title and saying, this is the brand. They didn't go all the way with it. I think that's what happened here. Right?
Yeah. If they just believed in him, we would have just dealt with it. And then they still could have sent him on that European tour. There's no reason he couldn't have done that anyway.
I would take Ciampa and Gargano and maybe Loomis, whoever your layovers from the one before, and say, look, we're doing a whole different thing. You guys can go to the main roster, or we're probably not going to keep you, right? And it's sink or swim for you on the main roster. And we're going to talk more about Ciampa on the main roster because of all those people. I think he may be the best fit for a variety of reasons. But having the kind of crossover and having to watch Grimes like being treated like that, and I keep going back to Kyle O'Reilly, like, I don't know, yeah. The Hot Tag Wrestling Podcast. This is Vince McMahon and Bruce Pritchard's idea of what the kids are into these days. 100%. Right. Former NXT champion Keith Lee, he noted on Twitter, rest in peace. He is retiring the Bearcat singlet that he wore in WWE. No more Bearcat singlet. I did think that was a big surprise.
Yeah, I think that's very fair.
It's weird. Bearcat phase. What a weird. I don't like it.
It was so obviously not genuine. And if anything is going to work in 2021, it must be genuine. Otherwise, everyone can just turn to something else.
All right. Lastly here, before we get to the Bryan Danielson media scrum, I love this news item. WWE SmackDown superstar Jinder Mahal has landed a role on ABC's Big Sky crime drama. He took to Twitter. He announced it. He's going to star in season 2 as a character named Derv, which I think I pronounced correctly, but I could be very wrong. Yeah, this is awesome. I love that Jinder Mahal is going to be a TV star. That's amazing.
If you guys have not watched Jinder Mahal's interviews, everything that guy does is amazing. He's able to think on his feet. He is so smart. He is funny. And he looks amazing. He looks like $1 million. He's totally a TV star, movie star in the making. I wish him all the best.
All right. Well, Brian, I want to thank you for talking the news at the top of the show with me. I want to thank the other Brian Danielson for the time in the AEW media scrums. Of course, AEW, thank you very much for including us once again in the scrums. Always a great time. And with that, let's dive to the mailbag here. At Wink Daily, at WINC Daily over on Twitter. That's the account to follow if you want to vote in the daily poll or just find out when shows are coming out, if we have guest co-hosts or anything like that. Today's poll question: which main roster WWE superstar would you most like to see Tommaso Ciampa feud with? Is it Randy Orton, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, or somebody else? Over 200 votes here in about the last hour. Randy Orton, 51%. Seth Rollins, 33%. Roman Reigns, 12.7%, and 3.2% for everybody else. So 2-1. Randy Orton, Ciampa. That's the feud people seem to want to see.
Oh yeah, I mean, I feel like those two totally match up. And also, Randy Orton is kind of like the the proto version of Ciampa,
Right.
and Ciampa, you know,
Well,
and Ciampa is like,
how big is Ciampa? Is he 6 foot?
no,
No?
no, he's like 5'8", I think.
Okay. All right. See, but that's the thing is like him and Gargano and Cole work in NXT because of that, right? Like, I don't know what happens when you put a Ciampa, but he's just so good. Like the storytelling, the facials, the intensity. Like, I could see him hanging with a Randy Orton and winning people over. Like, I would, of all the, like, I would worry about Gargano. I would worry about Gargano. I don't know that I'd worry about Ciampa.
I wouldn't worry at all about Ciampa. Ciampa was the #1 heel in wrestling just a couple of years ago. He was amazing. And if you have Ciampa as that sniper, stalker type character, then he can totally hang with guys that are much bigger than him because you know he's going to cheat or do something sneaky to get around him.
Yeah, exactly. And by the way, Ciampa, 5'11",
Oh, he's 5'11". How about that?
and he's 36. He's our age.
Oh, well, but wow. Good for you. Good for you.
How is Ciampa like the same age? I feel like he looks so much. I feel like I look like a little cherub baby, and he's so weathered and manly, right? I don't know.
It's because he doesn't brush his beard.
Um,
If he used the Brian and Brian beard oil, he would totally be just fine.
I'm ordering right now. I'm using the promo code because I have to use it right now before this infomercial ends.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, that'll bring us to the end of the program here today. I have to jump over. Becky Lynch was on the Ariel Helwani's MMA Hour shortly before we recorded, and was asked what she thought of Ric Flair ahead of Charlotte Flair, her match with Charlotte this Sunday at Survivor Series. And I think that the quote I saw right before we went to air was she said he's a broken old man who's dug himself a hole or something like that. I haven't read the full quotes, but I'm going to have that up on the site here like almost immediately. So that's why I'm pittering off here so quickly. But come back tomorrow because I'm going to have on the show, of course, my co-host, Poli Del Mar, Paul Pratt. And because of Paul's involvement with the show, we are now, I don't know if you saw this, Brian, we're nominated. The show is nominated by Outsports, which is a subsection of SB Nation, for best pro wrestling podcast in the LGBTQ category. And we want to thank them for the nomination. We hope we win. I think we should. And of course, Paul is wonderful. And do it for Paul. Do it for Paul. Don't do it for me, but do it for Paul. Do it for us. I don't know, So there you go.
And I'm honored to be associated with Poli Del Mar, and I'm honored to be associated with Wrestling Inc. Daily.
Yeah,
it's a great show, and we've got a lot of great voices.
Yeah, I agree. And so we'll talk with Paul tomorrow more about that award and maybe how you can help us win it. So let's do this together as a team. Of course, if you want to help the show, iTunes reviews, always appreciated. That helps push us up the very valuable chartable charts. And on the show tomorrow, not just me and Paul, the Second City Saint, CM Punk, you're going to get the full audio from his AEW Full Gear Media Scrum as well. So loaded show, sportwrestlinginc.com, or all the socials, and of course, the Wrestling Inc. podcast live at night after the big shows, including tonight after Dynamite. Tune in. So, BWO, anything you want to put over here before we wrap up?
Oh man, if you are in the Los Angeles area tonight in Burbank at Flappers Comedy Club at 8 p.m., I will be there with Rachel Wolfson from Jackass, Jake Lewis from the new Robin Williams biopic clip that was circulating around.
Oh yeah.
Also, Jeremiah Watkins from Roast Battle, and he plays the Joker on the new Batman the Animated Series. It's a crazy lineup tonight. Come on out. It's going to be so much fun.
Awesome. I am at Nick_Hausman over on Twitter. Thank you so much for tuning in. I will talk to you tomorrow. And remember, if you winked, you didn't miss